in the bustling city of Lagos, Nigeria, Mmeso, known as Mmeso, was a young woman full of grace and intelligence. She was the heiress to her family's large business, Okiki Enterprises. Mmeso had always dreamed of becoming the CEO of her father's company. She worked hard, went to the best schools, and learned everything about the business. However, her father, Chief Okiki, was a traditional Igbo man who didn't believe a woman should run the company. Chief Okiki thought the best solution was for Mmeso to marry a suitable man who could then take over the business. He chose Emeka, the son of his friend and business partner, Chief Eze. Emeka was charming and ambitious, which made him perfect in Chief Okiki's eyes, but Mmeso had different ideas. She wanted to lead the company herself without needing a husband to prove her worth. "Papa, I've worked so hard to prove myself," Mmeso often pleaded with her father. "Why can't you see that I'm capable of running the company?" Chief Okiki would shake his head, his face stern. "Mmeso, it's not about your abilities, it's about tradition. Our people will not respect a woman in charge. This is for your own good." Mmeso felt frustrated. She argued with her father more and more. "Papa, times have changed. Women are leading companies all over the world. Why can't you trust me?" she cried. Chief Okiki remained firm. "This is not just about you, Mmeso. It's about the family's legacy. Marrying Emeka will secure the future of Okiki Enterprises and bring honor to our name." At first, Mmeso strongly resisted. She didn't want to marry a man she barely knew, just to fulfill a business deal. She felt her dreams slipping away under the weight of her father's expectations. One evening, after another heated argument, Mmeso went to her room in tears. She looked at the awards and certificates on her wall, each representing her hard work, but none of it seemed to matter to her father. The next day, she confronted her father again. "Papa, please reconsider. I can run the company. I don't need to marry Emeka for that." Chief Okiki's face turned red with anger. "Enough, Mmeso! If you do not marry Emeka, I will disown you. You will lose everything. The company, your inheritance, and the family name. Do you understand?" Mmeso stood frozen, the weight of his words sinking in. To be disowned would mean losing everything she had worked for and being cut off from her family and the business she loved. She couldn't imagine life without her father's support and the company she had dedicated herself to. That night, she lay in bed, her mind racing. She realized that resisting her father's wishes might only lead to losing everything. Maybe, by agreeing to the marriage, she could find a way to work within the situation and still achieve her dreams. The next morning, Mmeso went to her father with a heavy heart but a determined mind. "Papa, I have thought about what you said. I will agree to marry Emeka." Chief Okiki's eyes softened a bit. "Mmeso, all I want is what's best for you and the family. If this is your decision, then so be it. You will have your place in the company." And so, the path was set. Mmeso agreed to the marriage, which felt more like a business merger than a love match. She hoped that, in time, she could prove her worth and eventually lead Okiki Enterprises. Emeka, a charming and well-spoken young man, entered Mmeso's life like a breath of fresh air. With his warm smile and attentive demeanor, he quickly caught Mmeso's attention. However, Mmeso, still reeling from her father's insistence on their marriage, initially harbored feelings of resentment towards Emeka. She viewed him as nothing more than a pawn in her father's game, a means to an end. Yet, Emeka was undeterred. He saw beyond Mmeso's initial reluctance and made it his mission to win her over. He started by showing genuine interest in her life and passions. He listened attentively as she talked about her dreams of leading Okiki Enterprises and shared her frustrations about her father's traditional views. Emeka's empathetic nature and willingness to listen slowly began to chip away at Mmeso's defenses. As their interactions grew more frequent, Emeka seized every opportunity to court Mmeso in a way that spoke to her heart. He surprised her with small gifts that showed he had been paying attention to her likes and dislikes. He took her on outings to serene spots around Lagos where they could escape the hustle and bustle of the city and simply enjoy each other's company. One day, Emeka invited Mmeso to a quaint cafe overlooking the Lagos Lagoon. As they sat sipping on freshly brewed coffee, he opened up about his own hopes and aspirations. He spoke of his admiration for Mmeso's determination and strength, expressing his belief that she was destined for greatness. Mmeso, taken aback by Emeka's sincerity and kindness, found herself warming up to him despite her initial reservations. Over time, Emeka's consistent displays of affection and support gradually won Mmeso's trust. She began to see him not as an adversary but as a confidant and ally. She found herself opening up to him in ways she never thought possible, sharing her deepest fears and insecurities without reservation. As their bond deepened, Mmeso couldn't help but feel a sense of gratitude towards Emeka for being the rock she needed during a tumultuous time in her life. After months of elaborate preparations, the wedding day finally arrived. The ceremony was a grand affair, held at a prestigious venue in Lagos. The hall was adorned with exquisite decorations, and the guest list included notable figures from the business world and high society. Mmeso walked down the aisle in a stunning white gown, her heart a mix of excitement and apprehension. Emeka stood at the altar looking every bit the perfect groom, his eyes filled with admiration and love as he watched Mmeso approach. As they exchanged vows, Emeka's promises of love and support seemed genuine. He held Mmeso's hands firmly and assured her that together they would build a bright future. The reception that followed was a lavish celebration, with music, dancing, and a feast fit for royalty. Friends and family toasted to the couple's happiness, and for a moment, Mmeso allowed herself to believe in the fairy tale that was unfolding. True to his word, Emeka supported Mmeso's ambition to lead Okeke Enterprises. He stood by her side as she stepped into the role of CEO, proving himself to be a reliable partner. Mmeso, driven by her passion for the company, worked tirelessly to implement her vision and drive the business forward. Several months into their marriage, Mmeso discovered she was pregnant. Initially, joy filled their home, but soon Mmeso began experiencing severe symptoms. She was often tired and nauseous, and on one particularly distressing day, she collapsed at work and was rushed to the hospital. The doctors diagnosed her with a fragile pregnancy and advised her to rest extensively to ensure the safety of both herself and the baby. Concerned for her health, Emeka suggested that Mmeso take a break from work and stay at home to focus on her pregnancy. He assured her that he would manage the company in her absence. Reluctantly, Mmeso agreed, trusting Emeka to handle the business while she prioritized her health. After months of rest and careful monitoring, Mmeso gave birth to a beautiful baby girl. However, the joy of motherhood was soon overshadowed by a deep and consuming sadness. Mmeso struggled with postpartum depression, finding it difficult to bond with her newborn and cope with the responsibilities of motherhood. Her condition required intensive care and constant support, further pulling her away from her role in the company. Emeka stepped up during this challenging time, taking over the management of Okeke Enterprises entirely. He provided unwavering support to Mmeso, encouraging her to focus on her recovery and assuring her that the company was in good hands. Grateful for his understanding and dedication, Mmeso began to believe that perhaps Emeka was better suited to run the business after all. Years passed, and Mmeso's health gradually improved, but the distance between her and the company remained. Emeka continued to lead Okeke Enterprises, making significant decisions and driving the business forward. Mmeso, meanwhile, focused on raising their daughter and managing their home. Despite their efforts, Mmeso and Emeka faced challenges in expanding their family. They tried to have another child, but with each passing year, their hopes were dashed. The strain of their unfulfilled desire for more children weighed heavily on Mmeso, adding to her sense of inadequacy and fueling her belief that stepping away from the company was the right choice. 6 years went by, and their daughter grew, becoming the center of their lives. Mmeso often looked back on her initial dreams of leading Okeke Enterprises with a mix of nostalgia and resignation. She had only one daughter with Emeka and had settled into a life that, while different from what she had envisioned, was filled with love and family. The events that had unfolded over the years had reshaped Mmeso's life in ways she had never anticipated. From a driven businesswoman to a dedicated mother, her journey had been marked by trials and triumphs, each moment strengthening the bond between her and Emeka. Yet, beneath the surface, the question lingered. Had she truly found her place, or was there more to her story yet to be written? As the years passed quickly, Mmeso and Emeka's wedding anniversary was upon them. Despite the passage of time and the changes in their lives, Mmeso still felt a deep love for her husband. She wanted to do something special to celebrate their years together. She knew Emeka had been working hard and had a meeting that evening, but she hoped to surprise him at the office. Mmeso spent the day preparing a lavish meal. She cooked all of Emeka's favorite dishes, adding her own special touch to each one. She also bought a thoughtful anniversary gift, a custom-made watch engraved with their wedding date and a heartfelt message. With everything ready, she carefully packed the food and the gift, excited about surprising Emeka at the office. As evening fell, Mmeso arrived at Emeka's office building, her heart pounding with anticipation. To her surprise, the usually bustling office was eerily quiet. She noticed that none of the lights were on and the office seemed completely deserted. Confused, she approached the security man at the entrance. "Good evening," Mmeso greeted him. "I was looking for my husband, Emeka. Is he still in the office?" The security man shook his head. "Good evening, Ma. Mr. Emeka left a while ago. He took some gifts with him, too." Mmeso's heart soared at the mention of gifts. She immediately thought they must be for her. She thanked the security man and hurried back home, her mind filled with excitement. At home, she set the table with the food she had prepared, adding candles for a romantic touch. She waited eagerly for Emeka's return, imagining the look on his face when he saw her surprise. But as the hours ticked by, her excitement turned to worry. Emeka still hadn't come home. Exhausted from the day's preparations, Mmeso eventually fell asleep on the sofa. She woke up with a start when she heard the front door open. Emeka walked in, looking tired but carrying no gifts. "Emeka," she said, sitting up and rubbing her eyes. "I waited for you. I even went to the office to surprise you, but you weren't there." Emeka looked momentarily flustered but quickly composed himself. "Oh, the meeting was moved to another location at the last minute. I'm sorry, Mmeso. I completely forgot about our anniversary in the rush." Mmeso felt a pang of doubt but pushed it aside. She wanted to believe Emeka. "It's okay," she said, forcing a smile. "I just wanted to do something special for us." In the days that followed, Mmeso tried to put the incident out of her mind, but small things kept adding to her doubt. One evening, while clearing out Emeka's suit pockets before sending his clothes to the laundry, she found a receipt from an expensive jewelry store dated the day of their anniversary. Puzzled, she wondered why Emeka hadn't mentioned buying jewelry. She thought about asking him, but decided against it, not wanting to seem suspicious. Still, the receipt gnawed at the back of her mind, but she brushed it aside. One weekend, Mmeso and Emeka were invited to a small gathering at the home of their mutual friends, Nkem and her husband Obina. The evening started pleasantly with laughter and good conversation. At some point, Nkem and Obina went into the kitchen to get more refreshments, leaving Mmeso and Emeka in the living room. While in the kitchen, Nkem's voice drifted into the living room. She was speaking quietly but with a tone of pity. "I don't understand why Emeka keeps doing this to Mmeso," Nkem said. "She's so nice and beautiful. She doesn't deserve this." Mmeso, feeling the need to use the bathroom, excused herself. As she walked past the kitchen to reach the guest bathroom, she overheard Nkem's words clearly. Her heart skipped a beat, but she didn't react immediately. She finished in the bathroom, returned to the living room, and kept a calm demeanor for the rest of the evening, even though her mind was racing. The next few days were a blur for Mmeso. She couldn't shake the feeling that something was deeply wrong. Yet, she loved Emeka and didn't want to believe everything she heard without proof. She decided to investigate the matter herself. One afternoon, Mmeso visited Nkem at her boutique under the pretense of shopping and catching up. They exchanged gossip and talked about their lives, but Mmeso was determined to get to the bottom of what she had overheard. "Hey, Nkem," Mmeso began cautiously. "The other night, I overheard you saying something in the kitchen. It sounded serious. What were you talking about?" Nkem looked uncomfortable and hesitant. "Oh, Mmeso, it's nothing. Really." But Mmeso persisted. "Please, Nkem, we're friends. If there's something I should know, please tell me." After a long pause, Nkem sighed deeply. "All right, Mmeso. I didn't want to get involved, but since you insist." One day, Obinna went to his office to pick up some papers he had forgotten. While he was there, he walked in on Emeka making out with another woman. Mmeso's heart felt like it had been ripped out. "Are you sure?" Maybe he misunderstood. Nkem shook her head. Obinna was sure. Emeka even begged him not to say anything, but Obinna couldn't keep it from me. He made me promise not to tell anyone, especially you. Mmeso felt a wave of disbelief and sorrow wash over her. "I can't believe this. Emeka has always been so supportive. Why would he do this?" Nkem took Mmeso's hand and squeezed it. "I don't know, Mmeso, but you deserve to know the truth. Maybe it's time you looked closer at what's going on." Mmeso didn't want to believe what she had just heard, but she couldn't ignore it either. She decided she needed to find out the truth for herself and not act out of hearsay. Mmeso's determination to uncover the truth only intensified as she delved deeper into her husband's suspicious behavior. She began paying closer attention to Emeka's actions, noticing the subtle nuances that she had previously overlooked. The numerous business calls he took throughout the day, always stepping out of the room for one particular call, caught her attention. While Emeka had been taking such calls before, Mmeso now realized that there was something different about this particular caller. One day, as Emeka stepped out to take his customary call, Mmeso's curiosity got the better of her. She glanced at his phone screen and saw the caller ID. Mr. Amadu. Her heart skipped a beat as she recognized the name. Mr. Amadu was a prominent figure in their industry, and it struck her as odd that Emeka was always so secretive about his conversations with him. As Mmeso continued to observe her husband's behavior, she couldn't shake the nagging feeling that something wasn't right. Each time Emeka stepped out to take Mr. Amadu's call, she couldn't ignore the sense of secrecy that hung in the air. Determined to get to the bottom of it, Mmeso decided to confront Emeka directly about his frequent conversations with Mr. Amadu. "Emeka," Mmeso began one evening as they sat together in their living room, "I've noticed how often you take calls from Mr. Amadu. Why is he always so secretive? What business do you have with him?" Emeka's expression faltered for a moment, but he quickly regained his composure. "Mmeso, you know how it is in our industry. Some clients prefer to keep their business matters private. Mr. Amadu is one of those clients. He values confidentiality, and I respect that." Mmeso wanted to believe her husband's explanation, but doubt gnawed at the edges of her mind. It seemed too convenient, too rehearsed. She couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to the story than Emeka was letting on. "Are you sure, Emeka?" Mmeso pressed, her voice tinged with skepticism. "It just seems strange that he would be so insistent on secrecy." Emeka sighed, his frustration evident. "Mmeso, please trust me. Mr. Amadu is a valuable client, and I can't afford to jeopardize our business relationship by questioning his preferences. I promise you, there's nothing untoward going on." Mmeso wanted to believe her husband's reassurances, but the doubts lingered. She couldn't shake the feeling that there was something Emeka wasn't telling her, something hidden beneath the surface of his smooth words and charming demeanor. As days turned into weeks, Mmeso's suspicions only grew stronger. Each time Emeka stepped out to take Mr. Amadu's call, she couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to the story than met the eye. She knew she needed to get to the bottom of it, and her meeting with Mr. Amadu would be the first step in unraveling the web of deceit that had ensnared her marriage. Using her connections in the industry, Mmeso managed to secure a meeting with Mr. Amadu under the guise of discussing potential business opportunities. She arranged the meeting at Mr. Amadu's office, a sprawling complex in the heart of Lagos. As she stepped into the sleek, modern building, Mmeso couldn't help but feel a mix of anxiety and determination. She was about to delve into the truth, regardless of where it might lead her. As she sat across from Mr. Amadu in his lavish office, Mmeso noted the opulence surrounding her. The room was adorned with luxurious furniture and artwork, reflecting the prominence of the man seated before her. Mr. Amadu, an imposing figure with a commanding presence, welcomed her with a warm smile, unaware of her true intentions. "Mrs. Mmeso, it's a pleasure to meet you," Mr. Amadou began, his voice rich and authoritative. "I've heard a lot about your company. I'm excited to explore potential business opportunities with you." "Thank you, Mr. Amadou," Mmeso replied, maintaining a composed demeanor. "I've heard great things about your business as well. I believe we can find some common ground for collaboration." As they discussed potential business ventures, Mmeso skillfully steered the conversation towards her husband and his supposed partnership with Mr. Amadou's company. "My husband, Emeka, often speaks highly of your collaborations," Mmeso said casually. "He mentions how integral your business has been to our company's growth. I'm curious to hear your perspective on your partnership with him." Mr. Amadou's brow furrowed slightly, a flicker of surprise crossing his features. "Emeka, you say? While it's true that we've had some business dealings with your husband's company, I must clarify that they haven't been as frequent as he may have led you to believe." Mmeso's heart skipped a beat, but she kept her composure. "Oh, I see. Emeka often speaks about the importance of your business relationship. I suppose he just admires your work." Mr. Amadou nodded slowly. "Admiration is one thing, but I assure you, our interactions have been quite limited. Most of our dealings are straightforward and infrequent. To be honest, I'm surprised he speaks so highly of it." Trying to hide her growing unease, Mmeso decided to probe further. "He mentioned that you prefer to keep your business matters private and that you require a high level of confidentiality." Mr. Amadou raised an eyebrow. "Confidentiality is important, yes, but not to the extent that I would expect anyone to be secretive about our interactions. I'm not sure where Emeka got that idea." Mmeso's mind raced as she absorbed Mr. Amadou's words. The pieces of the puzzle were beginning to fall into place, and the picture they formed was far from what she had hoped. Emeka's insistence on secrecy, his evasive behavior, and the inconsistencies in his stories all pointed to a disturbing conclusion. "Thank you for your honesty, Mr. Amadou," Mmeso said, her voice tinged with resignation. "You've been very helpful. I appreciate your time." As she left Mr. Amadou's office, Mmeso felt a whirlwind of emotions. She had hoped to find answers, but instead, she was left with more questions and an undeniable sense of betrayal. The truth about Emeka's deceitful actions was now clearer than ever, and Mmeso knew that she could no longer ignore the signs that had been staring her in the face all along. It was time to find out the truth, no matter how painful it might be. Determined to uncover the full extent of Emeka's deception, Mmeso decided to find out who her husband had saved as Mr. Amadou on his phone. She went straight to her friend Nkem's boutique to inquire about the woman Obina had caught her husband making out with and the day it happened. Nkem quickly recalled that the incident occurred 3 months ago on the 4th of that month, but didn't know the woman's identity. However, she promised to help Mmeso find out who the mysterious woman was. That evening, Mmeso decided to visit Emeka's workplace. She waited until it was late and made sure everyone had left for home. With determination in her stride, she approached the security man on duty and requested access to the CCTV footage of the day Nkem had told her about. Although there was no footage from inside Emeka's office, there was a recording of Emeka escorting a particular lady out of the building. Mmeso monitored the footage and noticed frequent visits from this same lady, with Emeka always seeing her off. Armed with this evidence, Mmeso went home and kept the tapes as evidence of her husband's actions. Her plan was forming in her mind. She needed to know who the imposter Mr. Amadou was, the one Emeka always answered calls from in secret. As she arrived home, Mmeso realized Emeka hadn't yet returned. She decided to put her plan into action. Mmeso planned to drug Emeka's food with her antidepressants, knowing that the medication often made her drift into a deep, mindless sleep. She prepared dinner meticulously, blending the crushed pills into Emeka's favorite soup. When Emeka finally arrived home, he seemed preoccupied, barely acknowledging Mmeso as he washed up and sat down to eat. Mmeso watched him closely as he took the first few bites, her heart pounding in her chest. "How was your day?" she asked, trying to keep her voice steady. "Busy as always," Emeka replied, barely looking up from his meal. Mmeso forced a smile, feeling a mix of anger and sadness. I made your favorite soup." "Thanks," Emeka mumbled, continuing to eat. Within minutes, she could see the effects of the drug taking hold. Emeka's eyelids grew heavy and his movements slowed. "Are you okay?" Mmeso asked, feigning concern. "Yeah, just tired," Emeka slurred, struggling to keep his eyes open. "Huh. Why don't you go to bed early tonight?" Mmeso suggested, helping him up from the table. Emeka nodded drowsily, barely able to stand. Mmeso guided him to their bedroom, where he collapsed onto the bed and quickly fell into a deep sleep. With Emeka unconscious, Mmeso took his phone and navigated to the contact labeled Mr. Amadu. She quickly jotted down the number and returned the phone to its original place. She then ran the number through the Truecaller app and discovered the true identity of the caller, a woman named Machi. Intrigued and determined, Mmeso Googled Machi and found her various social media handles. Machi was a beauty influencer, and a plan began to form in Mmeso's mind. What an exciting turn of events! Want to know what happens next? Will Mmeso's plan to expose Emeka unfold perfectly, or will there be more twists? To find out, subscribe to African Folktales by Nietzsche and hit the notification bell so you don't miss the next episode. Be sure to like and drop a comment. Let us know your predictions, and we can't wait to see what you think will happen next.